Greetings everyone, Dwyrin here. Welcome back to part 1 of another one of my SimCity 4 tutorials. Judging from the map you are seeing before you, we've got a lot of varied terrain here, making this a little bit more advanced than our previous tutorial, which makes perfect sense. I'm going to select this one over here. I like the mountain ranges, I like the water that's in it. So our tutorial is going to be taking place on this map. It will not be a snowy map, unfortunately. As you can see, I have different terrain edits from, when I first generated the map. Anywho, as per usual, you can find the links to the mods that I'm using for this particular tutorial down below. I encourage you all to stop the video, go grab the mods in this tutorial, and follow along with me. As mentioned, there's a lot of wonderful features in this. I thought it was going to be one of the most exciting cities that I can possibly create, given what we're looking to do. And now we're not going to do too much different than what we did in the previous video. We're using the same nice, wonderful techniques that we used there to begin off our town here. As you can see here, beginning off with a line of about 500-ish. It's not going to be exact. And if you watched the previous video, you know that's a really, really good thing, because all those different, changes and the wonderful variety that gets placed in your town really makes it pop out and stand out. So this is good. This is good. It might not be exact, but it's completely fine. It's good enough. All we pretty much want to do, make certain we mostly have this lovely little box going on in here. And once we do that, then we can continue on to the next steps. We're all doing very, very well. So, here we go. Lovely little box, nicely drawn, like we did last time. But unlike last time, we have to be careful. We have to be very, very careful. You see, although we are going to start off doing the whole 3x3 squares, you'll notice they're not going all the way across, because this little feature in the middle of this area here is our wonderful, wonderful friend. We don't want to drag over this because it's going to redo the terrain, right? You're going to smooth it out and level it out because of the road, and you don't want to do that. We want to keep this little mound in the center of our town completely as is. So we're getting close as we can to where the mound really starts changing colors, the terrain. And then we're going to halt our road there. Because we're going to be using this. We're going to be using that. We're going to be using the mountains. We're going to be using the water. We're going to be using everything. And even though this is a more advanced tutorial than the one I previously created, in a lot of ways, you're going to find that this one's a lot easier. And the reason for that is because these lovely little features that are already in the map practically have already told us how it needs to be created. All we have to do is just sit there, listen to what's there, and, place things as it tells us. And you'll find out more about that, well, right now actually. Because you can see the neighborhoods are starting to pop up already based on the terrain, right? So we already have some ideas on some of the sizes of our neighborhoods, simply because that mound is there. And that's going to continue on through. So, just like last time, keep doing the 3x3s all the way across. Once you've got it all nicely gridded out, do exactly as we did in the first tutorial, and just pick random numbers, whatever you want, and start going through and deleting some of the vertical roads. This gives us, preferably, a nice little road that goes through the center of the area. That's going to be our main road. Only here, I must confess, I'm cheating. I have a design in mind that I'm already trying to do. Because due to the layout of this particular town, I know that I want one of my roads actually cutting between the water and my mountain. So I'm kind of engineering, as you can see here, this path that the road is going to take going up and around in between the mountain and the water. So if you like that idea, you can have it. If you don't like the idea, just throw it away. It's your town. Do whatever you want. Most important thing here is you have fun And with this technique, you're going to be getting the variety that you need, and hopefully, a little bit of fun along the way. I must also confess that I'm kind of picking random numbers in my head as I'm going along. I'm not really looking to see what's around me, because I've done this so many times before. I have a pretty good sense of how to kind of like force that feeling that this was created randomly. So you can do that too. You can take whatever shortcuts you feel like. Just make certain that when you look at it, you don't think, oh my god, this is still a giant grid. As long as you can avoid that feeling, you're doing perfectly okay. Once you're all done, I think this should look very familiar to anyone who actually watched the first tutorial or maybe even tried it out for themselves. And if you did, I hope that worked very, very well for you. I know it certainly did for me. But as we can see here, we already know where we want our road to go through. So all I'm going to do is same things we did in the first video. We're just going to go and play mostly connect the dots and drag this little road up around and hopefully between the mountain and the water as we were hoping for, because this should cut our city nicely in half. It makes perfect sense this time that the road would go through here, given that there's a giant geological formation that's kind of blocking it from just going in one direction, and you know, a giant pond of, well, not really a pond, maybe it's a river? I don't know, whatever that is down there, preventing it from just like going straight down. So this makes a nice amount of sense. And when we're all done, it should look all nicely too. Now once you're done with that, same as we did in the previous one, anytime I see a street going into a road corner, I'm going to immediately remove it, because I don't think that makes very much sense, given that we're probably turning that into some kind of corner anyway. So I'm going to take that and remove that immediately. And then lastly, delete the road that's going around the entire area, our initial square, to kind of hide the idea that this was created with a little bit of a grid. Alright, not doing too bad. You probably know what's coming next, so it's come no surprise that we're going to look at that disgusting little road that we created and all those weird steppy kind of turns, and we want to get rid of that immediately. So once again, we're going to use our little road tool, kind of decide where the road's trying to go and seeing if we can't create a little bit more gentle curve going from point A to point B. And remember, don't be afraid to destroy any of that street that gets in your way, okay? Anything you remove is actually a good thing, because it makes things look non-uniform. It makes it look like there's like so much detail placed in your town, and you've went and spent so much time painstakingly crafting each and every road and neighborhood, and when you really didn't. You just had fun with a bulldozer. That's what you did. And really, that's what you need to do. Just have fun. Alright folks, I think so far you'll agree it's been nice and painless thus far. Nothing we haven't really done in the previous tutorial. That theme's going to continue so far, because right now what we're going to do is follow up along with what we're normally doing at this stage. We're taking our main road, and we're going to put some commercial around there. Now, I want to stress, when, especially on this map, when there's so many different, what's what I'm looking for? There's so many different features, it allows for a lot of room of just possibilities that you can just throw at this. I decided to have my commercial along the main road. You don't have to do it. You can have your commercial up on maybe the northern area and focus more southern tips as just residential and just give your people wonderful, wonderful beachfront property. I consider doing that as well. If you want to do that, hey, that's completely fine. You do not have to do everything exactly as I'm doing, so it's cool. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. But just for the sake of this video, for the sake of continuing, you know, mostly in the fashion that we've already learned, I'm going to go ahead and just continue along with what we did previously and put a bunch of the commercial right along the main road of town. just as you see here, you know, kind of like so. Do have to be careful a bit about the curves. They are going to pose a problem, not going to lie to you. They're going to be a bit fiddly when you unpause it. But now, if all's gone well so far, then you've got a bunch of neighborhoods just waiting to be built. You've got your main road. You've got your commercial, pretty much where you decided that you wanted it. Now it's time to really start focusing on these neighborhoods and making them look a little bit better. And for that, we're going to use a lot of the same techniques, once again, that we did previously, which shouldn't be coming as a surprise to anyone. And one thing that we like doing is letting the road that we've built, and in this case, the terrain that we're using, tell us where things need to go. For example, if we have a turn, well, maybe the road's turning because there's a neighborhood back in there, and that's completely fine too. If a road needs to turn, maybe it's turning because it's going around the base of the mountain, so there's going to be a neighborhood there. Before we decide where we specifically want something, just take a look around at the map, see what the map is already telling you. You might be surprised. The more detail the map actually has, the less decisions you actually have to make. Believe it or not, believe it or not. All you have to do is decide, well, you know, this is the end because there's a mountain here, we're not going up any higher, so I guess neighborhoods are going to end over in here. Or hey, this road's turning, guess there's going to be a neighborhood over in here. Or you know what, there's a nice straightaway of water here. Maybe I'm going to have a nice straightaway of, you know, a neighborhood because they're going to be overlooking the water. Whatever you feel like doing, whatever you feel like doing. Just remember, the way I get all of these lovely little curves going in my streets is I make pretty much the curve that I'm looking for, but then on the inside of that curve, I take the street tool and I just click once. If you've installed the network add-on mod, then it automatically fills in for, you know, the, the nice gentle curve there. So you don't have to go through and tab through and find the right one you're looking for and go back in place and go back to the street tool and keep zoning and then go back into the other tool and tab to the curve you're looking for, and, you know, eliminates all that kind of back and forth. Good thing to know. Very good thing to know. Also, even though you are looking at this time lapse, because this took me, I think on stream, it took me about a good 2 hours to do. You don't have to do it as fast as I am. As I appear to be doing it, I should say. Go ahead and take your time. Because remember, this is your little town, and you get to make all the decisions on what you want to be in the town, and where you want it to be in the town. The only thing that you're responsible for is trying to make certain that it doesn't look like there are a bunch of grids everywhere. As long as you're doing that, you're doing it A-okay. The only true troubling part you're probably going to have over here is anytime you deal in SimCity 4 with terrain that's not perfectly flat. Well, let's face it, your roads are going to try to redraw the terrain a little bit and, you know, try to make things a little bit less steep because, you know, you don't want a 90-degree angle for a road, right? And that's just insane. So, you will find areas where you're drawing the road through, but the terrain gets redrawn. It's now completely steep. It's not quite what you're looking for. So you have to go back and kind of retry over and over and over again. It's like kind of flatten it out, smooth it out, do it again. I recommend whenever you're doing an area like that, make certain you save your game. Otherwise, you could break your terrain, you might find something that you don't like, you might not know how to get rid of it. I mean, you can even see right here how many times I've had to go back over and over and over again because I didn't like what I was doing to my terrain and I had to find a different way to do it. Now, thankfully, I didn't have to resave because it just seemed to go, you know, back to normal. It Thankfully. But yeah, every time I didn't like an area, well, had to delete it, break out the tools, smooth it out again, try it from a different angle, all that stuff. So remember, save your game before you start doing anything along those lines. And a good way to know if you're going to be running into that, if you're running a diagonal road as you've seen, going from, a high to a low or a low to high elevation, the diagonal ones are real annoying about that. Oh my god. Those ones more than any other will destroy the terrain you're looking for. So you gotta be real careful about that. Real careful about that. But I'm sure you'll get it eventually. If I can do it, you can do it. Because this method that we're using is really easy. Once you're done terraforming, then same as last time, mind what size roads or what size streets you were gridding at. I was doing it in 3x3, so predominantly that means I'm building 1x1 houses. If you were doing maybe 4x4, 5x5, whatever, then you can use 2x2 or 3x3 homes respectively. Just keep in mind what you were zoning for originally, because it makes everything else a lot easier. I also have to say that we're going to be using two different styles. As you can see, you're probably noticing by now I'm using 2x2s and 1x1s. The reason for that is I have decided when I was making this city, areas there I want to have, let's say, a bit more upscale housing. Maybe things by the beach, the sand anyway, the water in other words. Yeah, I feel like maybe in those areas there should be 2x2 homes. In fact, if you want to do it, I think I'm probably going to be doing this at some point in the city, you can even do 3x3 homes to see if you can force an area of maybe more upscale clientele, maybe some very rich people that can go and move into your town. That's fine too. Just remember to try to zone for that before you decide to put it in, because it'll make your life a lot easier to make that decision before you start making all of your different streets and all the different curves and neighborhoods and things like that. Great thing about this map though is since there's so many different features in there, we can almost decide at random where we want things to go, because we're not zoning everything. I mean, the water, the mountains, it all tells us there's a point where we're not going to zone past. So if we decide, hey, I don't really want 1x1s here, maybe I do want the 3x3s, you're probably left plenty of room then, so you can just so in this area when there's so many different features already around town, you can kind of just rezone it on the fly. But while I'm doing this, I have to ask, how many of you have actually tried the tutorial so far? I am really curious. If you watched the first tutorial, maybe you're following along with this one, how did it go for you? I really would like to know. Did you like the result that you had? Did you finally make that one nice little, rural looking town, and were you satisfied with it? Or did you still feel like something was missing maybe? Don't be afraid to drop comments telling me your stories and how, this has actually worked out for you. Because I'm genuinely curious. Because for me, I don't think I've created a single town that I wasn't happy with by using this particular method. It's quick. It's, relatively quick anyway. It is very easy. And I just haven't gone wrong with it. And I hope that maybe your stories kind of reflect mine as well. If you're having any troubles, do drop messages. I will answer to the best of my ability, see if I can maybe figure out what you're doing wrong, if you're doing anything wrong. Because when it comes right down to it, if you've tried this and you're not satisfied with what you have, then you know what? I'm not satisfied with what I have either. And I'd like to help you out with that. I really would. Oh man, we've certainly done a lot in this video so far. Oh boy. But you know what? The best part's coming up right now. Because one of the greatest features of this map are those freaking mountains, and I got so excited when I saw those. And it was exactly what I was looking for, that you can have like a city with like kind of like multi-level areas to it. It was, I had to do it. I had to do it. Even if I wasn't putting it on camera, I had to make a city here. It's that simple, right? It's just that simple. So first I need to do, extend my road, make certain that, you know, anyone I put back into, you know, wherever I'm putting them, they can get all around town. Because let's face it, it should become apparent to everyone by now that in this lovely little tutorial, we are zoning that entire frigging map. The entire map is going to be done in this one. And if you're following along, I probably should have told you that at the start, what you're getting in for. If I didn't, I'm sorry. Oh my god. There's probably going to be at least 2, maybe 3 parts to this as we, you know, zone everything and put in detail. Again, the thing that's really going to drive you, like, just up the freaking wall is, are the diagonals. Going diagonally up a mountain is just a pain in the freaking... It is not nice, in other words. It'll make you start drinking. If you're not careful, you'll be reloading your game constantly. Make certain you always save before you do diagonals up a mountain, because holy crap. And even after you're quote-unquote done with your city, you're probably going to actually go back there anyway and redo it, because you're still probably not going to be happy with it. I mean, I wasn't after who knows how many times. You're probably not going to be as well. I mean, you can even see right now, there's that part right there that just wants to be different. It looks like we're having like a little bit of a, I don't know, a drainage ditch off the side, and it's just, well, I didn't like the look of that either, so obviously we destroyed that one too. But, you know, they say third time's the charm. Hopefully. Third time's the charm, or you turn into an alcoholic, one of those two. Anyway, either way, you'll be having fun playing some SimCity. As you can see here, I finally just say screw it. You can't do diagonal completely up through it. You have to get into areas that you have to go past the areas that are, you know, are gonna mess up, and just make a straight road there and then turn it again, and then. But it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Even if you don't get exactly what you want, it's still okay, because once you get in the area that you're looking for, really, really, really great things actually occur. Really, really great things actually occur. Such as what you're seeing before you. We get to have a little bit of a small town, hamlet, something in the mountains. And I hadn't had that before. I had not had that nothing in any of my towns. When I've actually created like a nice small little settlement, I tell you, it was a lot of fun to create. And a lot of it, you know, was easy to do, because once again, we're in the mountains, so all we have to do is just ask the mountain, like, hey, Mr. Mountain, where you want us to be building up all of these little neighborhoods? Do you want us to be building a neighborhood over here? I think you do, because we can't go no farther. And then we're going to put a neighborhood over there. Or somewhere else. Pretty easy all along. Just follow the mountain, have fun, make whatever you want. Try not to get frustrated with the terrain. It is there to frustrate you. I'm sad but true. It is there to frustrate you. But once you're past it, I think you'll like the result an awful lot. I mean, just look at all these little nooks and crannies and things that you can have fun with. It really gives your city character. Chances are you probably haven't created a city like this before, with so many different like out of the way places, kind of like hidden areas that you would just love to live in when you were a kid. Well, maybe, unless you're like, unless you really enjoyed, you know, growing up in the city and things. But if you like, you know, the outdoors, then you're probably gonna look at the area and like, wow, I wish I lived there. Or maybe you did live there. Maybe it'll remind you of home. I don't know. All I know is I was making this and I wish I had lived there, because these areas had character. These areas were special. It made me wonder, you know, I wonder what it would be like growing up on that mountainside, you know, with there's like this one little windy road leading you back to town, to a small town in this case, a little village probably where you go to school or something like that. And, you know, down the mountain is a bit of a larger town, not like a major city, but you know, still just a bit of a larger town, you know. All of these really cool things definitely made me excited to build this, and I hope you're having a lot of fun with this as well. I really do. But I'll tell you what, I think this little tutorial has dragged on a little bit long enough. I mean, we've done a lot. We've almost made one and a half little towns in about this 25-minute period. And chances are, if you've been following me along, you're probably still gonna be at it a lot longer than that. But I did want to point out one last thing before I end this segment of the tutorial. And that is, in the center of this little area, it's probably a good idea to make certain you have commercial here. Because you probably don't want to have just residential, otherwise what is likely going to happen is they're going to be complaining about commute times. You are going to need a few jobs in the area for these out-of-the-way folks. They need a place to work. You don't want to have everybody climbing down the mountain every day to get to work. They might get angry at you, and if they get angry at you, well, they really can't do anything. It's SimCity, but hey, they'd be pissed and they'd want to kill you. And you don't want your Sims trying to kill you. That's a bad thing. That's a bad thing. So remember, out-of-the-way areas, at least include a few commercial jobs, so your residents are nice and happy. Join me next time where we continue this. We're going to put in a lot more detail in the next part, and really make this area come alive. So I hope you join me for that. Hope you're having fun with this particular city. I know I have. I know I am. And I'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.